So I just went down the Affordable Care Act rabbit hole, and I'm genuinely shocked that Americans are not more outraged about this entire thing. The Affordable Care Act subsidies that the Democrats are requiring to extend in order to reopen our government are subsidies that are paid with taxpayer. Obama said you must use the Affordable Care Plan or pay a fine or get insurance elsewhere. You must have insurance. You must use Obamacare. It will be affordable. And then it ended up not being affordable at all. So we had to subsidize the cost of it with taxpayer money that is paid directly to insurance companies.
That's right.
Who are causing the driving up of healthcare costs in the first place. This is such a scam. And people aren't outraged. Like, it sounds so noble that the Democrats want people to have affordable health care. But Obama forced people to have affordable health care that wasn't affordable at all. So taxpayers have to pay it, but we pay it directly to the private insurance companies that make health care unaffordable. Can someone clarify if I'm missing something? Because this is wild.
They'll piss on your head and tell you it's raining.
To the American people, if you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
If you like your doctor or health care plan, you can keep it.
Nothing in this plan will require you or your employer to change the coverage of the doctor you have.
The only change you'll see are falling costs as our reforms take hold.
If you like your healthcare system and your doctor, the only thing reform will mean to you is your healthcare will cost less. I will not sign a plan that adds one dime to our deficits, either now or in the future. It is a cost that will not, I repeat, will not add to our deficits. There will be a provision in this plan that requires us to come forward with more spending cuts if the savings we promised don't materialize. Because it is paid for and curbs the waste and inefficiency in our healthcare system, this bill will help reduce our deficit by as much as $1.3 trillion in the coming decades, making it the largest deficit reduction plan in over a decade. It will actually reduce the deficit by $4 trillion over the long term. Healthcare reform must be and will be deficit neutral in the next decade. We have built into law all sorts of measures that in the years to come, healthcare inflation, which has been rising about 3 times as fast as people's wages, is finally going to start slowing down.
We'll eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in our healthcare system, but we'll also take on key causes of rising costs, saving billions while providing better care to the American people.
Reducing the waste and inefficiency in Medicare and Medicaid will pay for most of this plan. We've estimated that most of this plan can be paid for by finding savings within the existing healthcare system. The only thing this plan would eliminate is the hundreds of billions of dollars in waste and fraud, as well as unwarranted subsidies in Medicare that go to insurance companies. Subsidies that do everything to pad their profits will start reducing the waste in the system, from unnecessary tests to unwarranted insurance subsidies, so that over time, Americans are going to save money. Families will save on their premiums. Businesses that would see their costs rise if we do not act will save money now, and they will save money in the future. And save a typical family an average of $2,500 on their healthcare costs in the coming years. Knowing you can offer your family the security of healthcare, that's priceless. Now you can do it for the cost of your cable bill, probably less than your cell phone bill. No federal dollars will be used to fund abortions. There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants.
At the so-called healthcare summit, February 2010, Tennessee Republican Senator Lamar Alexander got under Obama's skin by predicting that healthcare premiums would rise under Obamacare. Clearly irritated, Obama lectured the senator. This is an example of where we got to get our facts straight. And then Obama cited CBO projections that premiums would go down between 14 and 20%. It wasn't just Lamar Alexander. During the entire campaign to ram Obamacare down our throats, Obama and his party's leaders accused any critic of lying about what was in the plan and its impact. Well, the Kaiser Family Foundation just produced a new study showing that the average annual premium for employer-based plans costs over $15,000 a year. It's a 9% increase in just 1 year. How much of this is related to the passage of Obamacare? Well, let me quote the New York Times. In addition to increases caused by insurers getting ahead of potential costs, some of the law's provisions that are already in effect, like coverage for adult children up to 26 years of age and prevention services like mammogram screening, have contributed to higher expenses for some employers. Nothing Obama, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, or the CBO said back then is supposed to matter now. Nobody's supposed to even remember the blatant lies they told to get Obamacare passed. The problem is I have a great memory, and I am going to make sure a whole lot of you also have a great memory, too.
Yeah.
Minister Danz, I'll give you the first word on this. Man, Rush, he was on it, bro. He was on it. Goodness gracious.
That man was a monster for information. I loved him. I mean, I love him. I really did. But this is a good example of why it's so important for people to stop allowing politicians to lie to them. And the old folks would say they piss on your head and tell you it's raining. It's like, you can't let people just tell you things and you believe it, because they'll take the money and run. Once they've done their thing, you're going to be left with the problem, but they're going to be scot-free. And a good citizen doesn't allow a politician to tell you what they want you to believe. You have to do your own research and your own investigation. My problem is that there were people that were warning about this during the time that they were claiming all of these promises. There were people warning them, and the public wouldn't listen. They voted for it lock, stock, and barrel. They'll let him make it mandatory. And they didn't, because, again, listening to the wrong voices. So that is, again, why we have to make sure that when things like this happen, we have to get in front of everything. We have to document in simple terms where people can understand, because if you're talking too complicated, even if you're right, people are not going to understand what you're saying. You can't just say that they're wrong and we're right. And you can't just present an argument that is on a college level when the average person cannot comprehend a college level communication. We have to break it down to simple communication and make sure that everybody understands exactly what's going on. If we do that, we make it harder for them to snow people.
Yeah. Chris, get in there. What are your thoughts?
Obamacare was a lie from the beginning. They knew it was a lie.
Yes.
They actively told lies in order to take over a third of the U.S. economy.
Yes.
And it has gone downhill ever since. What you don't know about Obamacare is that it has utterly destroyed the free market system.
Yes.
You've got the people who wrote the ACA. It wasn't written by Democrats.
Nope.
It was written by big pharmaceutical companies,
Yep.
big insurance companies,
Thank you.
big hospital providers.
Yep.
The unholy trinity got together and said, how can we create a system whereby trillions of dollars of taxpayer money will flow directly into our pockets?
Yes.
And that's what they did.
Yes.
Under ACA, it is no longer legal for doctors to go form their own hospital group. They can't do it.
Yeah.
Under ACA, the licensing requirements for doctors have gotten so onerous and it's so expensive that you create literally a shortage of doctors that now drives the price up. And you've basically forced them, because of all your maniacal billing practices, that you have to essentially take insurance.
Yes.
I mean, there's still a few. There's still some doctors you can go to where they'll tell you, if you ever ask, like, hey, this procedure, like you walk into a doctor's office and they're going to do a test or something. Oh, that's $850 and that'll be covered X% by insurance. What if I pay cash? Oh, I could do it for $150. I mean, it's insane. And so what you have and what people are waking up to, because people have started to blow the whistle, the healthcare, the ACA subsidies, it's an $800 billion annual transfer direct from the federal payment system right into the insurance companies.
Yep.
And what they do is they artificially lower premiums a little bit so that the Democrats can then come back. And if the Republicans don't buy off on this, they can say, look, the Republicans raised your premiums. No, the premiums were always that high.
Always. That's
it's kind of like saying, hey, you know what? Gas is $5 a gallon, but we're going to transfer $1 trillion a year to all of the oil companies to artificially lower gas prices from $5 to $2.50. And then when we end that subsidy, they go back up to $5 and it's their fault.
Yeah.
This is what they're doing. This
That's
is the
what they
Democrat
did.
plan. This is what they wanted to do. This is why they purposely extended the ACA subsidies only until December 31st of the next presidential cycle, so that if a Republican got elected, they could do this exact thing. They could demand that these ACA subsidies get extended. And if not, then they're going to run around and say that Republicans drove your premium.
Right.
No, the ACA drove the premiums up. The ACA is the problem. It's why it's under the ACA that we cover illegal aliens. It's under the ACA that you cover adult children up until 26.
Yeah.
And you've got, on the flip side, you've got the ideological left that runs around saying, you know, we're the richest country in the world. You know, people should have free healthcare. But realize that healthcare is not a thing that you can just give away. It is somebody's service. It is somebody's intellectual property. It is somebody's livelihood. You have to go to school. You have to learn how to be a doctor. You have to buy medications. You have to invest in equipment. So if you give that away, either one of the things are going to be true. Either that doctor becomes a slave. He has to give his services away for nothing or for a drastically reduced rate. Because nothing is free. Somebody always has to pay.
That's right.
So you can't guarantee healthcare as a right without making all of the providers in the healthcare system slaves.
That's right.
The only other option is the government simply has to pay for everything at whatever rate then that all of the doctors then agree to. Because guess what? When you spend other people's money for something that isn't yours, two things happen. The price skyrockets and quality goes right down the crapper. You either have to spend your money. The best thing is to spend your money for something that you want, that you control. Now you'll shop that thing until you're blue in the face. You'll make sure that your money is well spent. If you spend other people's money for something that you want, the only thing that happens is the price skyrockets.
That's right. Good point. Yes, sir.
So let's get in there. What are your thoughts?
Yes, this is actually the greatest circle jerk ever perpetrated on modern Americans.
Tell us how you really feel, Celeste.
Seriously.
So give me a chance to let me show it to you. This began with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton waltzed into Washington and told everybody that she wanted to create a single-payer health system, which is socialized medicine. At that time, that was so unpopular, they nearly ran Hillary Clinton out of town. And many suspect that the reason that scandal with Bill Clinton really got to the forefront was a way to stop the runaway freight train that was Hillary Clinton. That pushed her all the way to the side and to a certain extent handicapped his presidency. So they had to wait because they couldn't get it through then. So what they got was the very popular, and I believe specifically because he was African-American, Obama, to come up with this cockamamie scheme called the ACA plan. And what this plan was designed to do was to impoverish and destitute financially middle-class Americans. So we had a small percentage of people who were uninsured, maybe somewhere around 13% at the time. And what the ACA was supposed to do was supposed to provide insurance for the uninsured, because a way to get the uninsured coverage. Now, if you remember, and I've never said this in public before, I'm going to quote Mitt Romney, who said in his presidential bid accurately and correctly that all subsidy is a tax. All government subsidy is a tax. If you know anything about basic economics, you would know that anything that is subsidized, it doesn't matter if it's healthcare, childcare, education, anything that is subsidized creates a higher price. So automatically, the fact that the government is going to subsidize the healthcare of a 13 or so percent uninsured Americans means it has to raise the premium price for everybody else, which was largely the working middle class and who did not receive a subsidy. So their premiums got raised to the tune where healthcare became unaffordable for them. And many in the middle class who didn't have jobs. You know, we were having economic problems also at the time. You remember that was the financial housing bust. So all of those people who got busted through that then had to roll through and come back to the ACA and be dependent on their health care through that. They have done that for so long, and the premiums have gone up so high, and now they are set to expire in this new budget that we're trying to, or not trying to, work through, depending upon what side of the aisle you sit on. These budget, they're trying to, the premiums have gone up so high that they have to demand a subsidy, because now nobody can actually afford the premium, which
Right.
was always the point.
That was the plan.
The
Yep.
point was always to bring the American people to their knees, to remove the competition from healthcare so that nobody could ever afford healthcare. So what? We would go back to the original idea, which was single payer healthcare, which is where we are on the cusp right now of everybody saying, forget it, I can't afford it, I can't do it. Go ahead, government, take the whole system over and provide us with the healthcare. And in the meantime, as Chris has said, in that process, what they have been able to do is create a direct down payment and the largest transfer of wealth ever known in modern history, directly from the people to, as Chris called it, and rightfully, the unholy trinity. They circle jerked us all the way around this.
And Obama got paid.
Yes.
Yeah, still getting paid. I think they just stopped it recently, but yeah.
To be president. When everybody said Obama was in such danger of being president, I said, no, he's not. He's the safest person around.
It's funny that you bring that up. Hillary Clinton. This is from the 90s. Unfortunately, you have a lot of people. This might be the first time that they've ever heard that. This might be the first time. But I want to play this clip from Bernie Sanders because, Celeste, you're absolutely right. That is the plan. And that's what he's pushing for right now.
Today, Pramila, Debbie, and I are introducing Medicare for All single-payer legislation. Our legislation would provide comprehensive care to all Americans, rich, poor, young, or old, with zero out-of-pocket expense. It would provide full freedom of choice regarding health care providers. You go to the doctor, the nurse that you want to. No more insurance premiums, no more deductibles, no more co-payments, no more filling out endless forms. No more fighting with the insurance companies to get what you paid for. And comprehensive means comprehensive. It means covering dental care, vision, hearing aids, prescription drugs, and home health care. And you know what else this legislation does? It says to millions of workers in this country, you don't have to stay at a job you don't want to be at just because you have health care at that job.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep using it. There's always a sucker born every day.
Every day. Every day. AT, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to go a different way on this one because I think you all hit the nail on the head when it comes to the actual medical policy.
Today,
I was in the military when Obamacare came out. And so, you know, I joined at 17Ys. I didn't know anything about health insurance. I saw how it was executed and it was laughable at best. I think the day it came out, the servers went down. It was crashed. Hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people couldn't even access the thing in the first place. But I want to go back to the first young lady that you showed up there. I absolutely love watching people wake up. I really do. There's something precious about it when they're like, wait a minute. This has been wrong the entire time, and this is something that's actually out against me. My question for her is what you're going to do next about it now that you have this information out there. Because, again, this information is out there. For most of the questions you have, we have the internet nowadays. You have to look this up back in the day. You can find it, but most people would rather sit down and watch cat videos, eat hot Cheetos, stare at themselves in the mirror and please themselves, as opposed to actually finding something that might make them uncomfortable. You know, my takeaway from it is I used to be a liberal, much like Crystal was. Back in the day, I was all gung-ho. We have a black president. I'm so excited. It took me a long time to break from that. And looking back on it now, and I don't play identity politics, I could care less what color your skin is. Show me your character. But I will say, for those of you who are really excited about just being black, it's a shame that Obama was the first black president.
Love it.
Bingo.
Love it.
Wow.
Get in there, Minister Danzel.
Again, this is my point, as I said earlier, that when we start nailing people at the beginning, when they start spewing this information, when we start challenging them, when we start breaking down what's really going on in a manner that people can understand, they won't have that kind of power. Look how long it took for people to wake up to this doggone thing. It's embedded into the system, and they're fighting like crazy trying to get it out. But think of what would have happened if everybody, all of our pastors, our leaders, our conservative commentators got out there and like the left does. They script their messages where everybody start using the same words. Imagine if we all got together and started pumping out the exact accurate clarity on what they were trying to do and what it would result in. Imagine how many people would have been spared from it. It may have not have gotten over. Exposure is the best way to defeat a plot.
You're absolutely right. And for those of you guys that aren't familiar with what's going on with the single payer healthcare system up in Canada, the word is that about 15,000 Canadians died while waiting on surgeries or diagnostic scans between April of 2023 and April 24. This single payer health system is not going to be the savior that people think it is, or at least the people that were screaming in the background of Bernie Sanders. It's actually going to cause more harm and a higher death in our country due to people that are not going to be able to get the health care that they need. There are 6 to 12 month backlogs for people receiving MRIs and things of that nature in Canada right now. This isn't what you think it is. But Crystal, what are your thoughts?
Everybody cooked on here. I just want to point out that these type of systems, because they talk about free healthcare in all of these different places, all these different solutions, somehow or the other in other countries, it doesn't seem to work. I don't understand why people just don't. Again, back to my go outside and touch the grass. Go do some research. Stop being so lazy. Everything that you celebrate, it doesn't work. And they keep dangling these carrots in front, and no one is saying, you know what, let me go and look and verify. I will just say this. Obama was the Trojan horse. I know we say everybody else, but Obama was the Trojan horse. Because he was the one that came in and he sounded real good. He looked sharp.
He was black.
He was black, but and mind you, he was black, but he was acceptable. He was acceptable, quote unquote, all the way around. Everybody was excited about him. People who were Republicans went out and voted for him. There were Republicans that said, "You know what? I think I'm gonna vote for him." Because he said, "Yes, we can," and we did. He did. He brought in all of the foolishness. He brought it all in, because that Obamacare, I remember I saw it just like AT. I went to go sign up. I went to go get my kids on it and all that other stuff. And I was just like, you right about that Black-ish. I went to go sign up for it, and I was like, I thought this was supposed to be affordable. I was like, who's supposed to be able to pay for this crap? And it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know why people forget about all of the penalties that came along with it. If you didn't have it, you were going to be charged penalty. Nothing about it was good. Nothing about it was good. And I don't care how many different ways each one of them come in here and spin it. Thank you, Celeste, for Hillary, all the way forward to Bernie. All of them.
Thank you, Celeste. Yes.
They are the serpent in the Garden of Eden, speaking to each and every one of us. You either choose to listen to the serpent or ignore the serpent. Right now, I think by now you should learn your lesson and stop listening to the serpent, because the serpent has not done anything but brought us more and more harm and difficulties in our lives.
Amen.
You are absolutely right there.
One way or another.
You're absolutely right there. Goodness gracious.
As a member of the military, I had to get second opinions because I blew my knee out. And so I was skiing. I blew my knee out. I go to the flight surgeon at the base I was at, and he tells me, he's like, you know what? You tore your PCL. I've never actually done one of these, but I could fix it for you. And my obvious response was, hell no. He said, well, let's get a second opinion. I'm like, let's do that. So in order to get a second opinion at Andrews, just another Air Force base, 100 miles down the road, it took 4 months. 4 months to get an appointment for an MRI. So they referred me, well, we want you to go see the guy at Bethesda. Okay, that was another 4 months. And another 4 months to go see the guy at Walter Reed. So 3 doctor's appointments took a year, 1 year to happen. And so it speaks to the inefficiency of the system, but also as a point of firsthand knowledge. When you look at socialized medicine, I spent a fair amount of time in Albania doing mission trips, and I've talked to people there about their socialized medicine system. They said, well, here's how it works. Yes, healthcare is absolutely free. You don't have to pay a dime. So when you go to the hospital, when you go to the doctor, you show up, and they will treat you for free. However, the list is about 200 people long, and so you can wait. You know, if it's something routine, you might wait days or weeks or months. If it's something important, you might wait until it's too late. They said, or you can essentially bribe the doctor or the administrator, whoever it is, and you can move your way up the list. So he said, our socialized medicine actually costs just as much as it used to. Only now what you pay is the under the table fee to get moved up the list so you actually see a provider. And that's exactly what will happen. That's what's been happening in the UK. I have a friend who needed dental surgery. He had to go to Bulgaria to get his dental surgery.
Yep.
Because he couldn't get it in the UK. It was going to take too long. So he said, you know what? I'll go to Bulgaria where it's cheaper and I can get it, now.
I have a question for Chris and Celeste. And hopefully it doesn't happen, but if some kind of way they get this passed for a single payer healthcare system, do you think it would deter young people from becoming healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, and all these other systems? Because once it becomes single payer, I would assume that the wages for these people are going to come down. That doctor role isn't going to be a $200,000 or $300,000 a year job anymore. The government's not going to be able to afford to pay those people. So do you think it's going to deter, and do you think that we will have a shortage of people who are willing and wanting to work in the healthcare industry?
You'll have two things, and I'll let Celeste jump in. You'll have two things. One, for the first year or so, you'll have everything will seem like it's normal, while the government's paying out boatloads of money, and then the government through their single payer health will be like, okay, you know what? We're not going to pay that much. We're not going to pay $150 for a visit. That's going to go down to 100, and then it's going to go down to 75, and then it's going to go down to 50, and then it's going to go down to 25. And they're going to keep ratcheting down what they pay, and no one will be able to tell them otherwise because they control all the money.
That's right.
And so eventually you will have doctors be like, you know what? I'm out of here. I can't spend 12 years in school and $300,000, $400,000 in order to get paid $25 for a visit. Because it's going to come down to you get paid $25, $50 an hour. It's not going to work. And so then you're going to have a massive shrinkage of doctors. You're going to have a shortage. And the people who do enter that field are going to be ultimately less qualified because you can't make money doing it. The smartest and the brightest aren't going to go there. The smartest and brightest are going to go to where they can make money. And you're going to end up with essentially the guy who you show up and see at the DMV is going to be your doctor. That's the quality of person you will get. And it will go down the tubes.
So we're already seeing a problem in the provider space for physicians. So exactly as Chris described, they're already making less money. They don't even need to wait on single payer. Doctors are traditionally already making less money because what we have done in this 30-year circle jerk process is we have moved from doctors being independent providers to parts of hospital and healthcare systems.
Yep.
And as they have now become employees. I know when I was young and I went to see my pediatrician, she had her own practice at her own location and she was independent. That is no longer exists. Now everybody sees a doctor either through a hospital or an independent or a healthcare system. There's HMO. There's very, very few independent doctors, and only the really wealthy are generally able to see them because they can pay in cash. They're not reliant upon insurance to do that. So that situation already exists. The other situation that exists that people are not talking about is recently this woman, I believe her name is Helen Andrews, came out with an article called The Crisis of Femininity. And she talked about the professions of which doctors, the medical profession, is now 51% female. when they were looking at admissions of women into medical schools and they were following their trajectory, what they found was that part of the reason they were having shortages with medical providers is the fact that women doctors take off more time. So maybe they become doctors, they get married, they have a baby, they may take 2 or 3 years off to raise the baby and then want to rejoin medicine at a longer time. Not many women do practice medicine straight through the trajectory and put in the same hours as men. So having the medical profession now be majority female, 51%, I believe that was as of 2019, women became the majority of medical providers as doctors, has already creates an inherent shortage because women are not going to inherently work straight through as men because they have other incentives of life, wanting to raise children, wanting to do other things. So that already exists. So you're going to tie Chris's issue with the lowering of the lowering of the expense for what a provider can charge with the fact that there's already going to be and increasingly be an inherent shortage. We are going to have a disaster, and what we will do is collapse our medical system, and it'll do what it will do for everything else that the government gets involved with. The rich will get the best expertise and the best service available, and the rest of us get healthy, people. Get healthy and get rich is all I can tell anybody. Get healthy and get rich. And it's probably a little bit easier to get healthy. So start with there and and while you're getting healthy, figure out a way to squirrel away some money, because you are not going to, God forbid, we end up in a position where we are wholly dependent upon these people. Bernie talked about not wanting to have copay. You know what? A copay is your way of paying your employee. You have some authority in that relationship through a copay. You start removing all of those things. And just to bring it to COVID could have never happened with doctors and pharmaceutical companies that were actually in one direct line, streamlined to each other. They all said exactly the same thing.
That's right. I was going to say that.
Medicine, exactly the same things. They all did exactly the same things, even when there was evidence that maybe some of these things weren't true or weren't working. There was never any deviation from anybody's medical provider because they were employees of the system. No one was independent. And I think what will eventually happen is for those people, either through membership, through the regular everyday folk, or through the wealth that people can garner, there will become independent doctor provider systems, but they will be offline in a way because they will consolidate like they did with banks and everything else. They will consolidate and they will continue to
control everything.
But let me hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.